G'day trendsetters, Mark Batten in Australia for day 39 of the 60-day video momentum. The topic for today is a long one and it reads, how much energy have I spent wishing that my partner, family member, office mate or neighbour will change their habits or behaviours, and then getting really upset when they don't. How have I evolved from that? What kind of strategies have helped me work with those issues, and how do I see those issues developing over time? Well, the first part around how much energy have I spent wishing others would change their ways, and have I been upset with that? Shit, I'm not a saint. Are you kidding me? That's about living life, isn't it? It's years on the planet. When you look back and you're embarrassed about some of the things you thought, said and done. No question, I've certainly been in that space and an evolving space, and certainly still challenged by circumstances and things that are presented to me. What's different in the last 15 years or so, 20 years or so, is that the strategies that I'd used before were around it's someone else's fault. So blame the circumstance, blame the other person, blame the situation, without really looking at myself to see whether or not I had a part to play in the circumstance. So most definitely making excuses for why I behaved in a certain way, and of course that would be somebody else's fault. And then, or maybe even denying that in fact I had any part to play in the circumstance at all. So that's all pretty easy in that space, isn't it? But they reached a point where I went, well, how's that strategy working for you? And maybe I had someone say something like that to me once. I don't know, I can't remember, but I think I found that those strategies didn't work. How have I evolved from that? I like to think I am evolving from that. I'm not a finished product by any stretch. But I have used some techniques, I suppose, if I can call them that. Ways that I've been led to or picked up or read or been tutored or guided into. The first one was a long time ago where I thought I needed to change, and I came across a strategy of, well, there's always two sides, right? There's always two sides to an issue. So if there's two sides to a story, what's my half? What's my 50% of this argument? What's my 50% of this situation? And after the emotions have run, sitting down and going, okay, so what's that bit in me that is fair and reasonable for me to take a closer look at? Another one is that of reflection. I think Michael Jackson sings it the best when he says, I'm talking about the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. I think reflection's a wonderful thing. You can use the mirrors in a number of ways, of course, can't you? You can use it for affirmations, but you can also look at the circumstances in life, the play that's on stage in front of you that you're an actor in right then and there, and go, okay, well, man, how many times is this going to happen to me before I realise that there's something in me that's got to change? So that's the other aspect of reflection, is that for things to change, I must change. And when I change, then my whole world changes. The environmental circumstances change because I'm actually changed. I'm no longer the same person with the same energy and vibration, and that whole vortex of beingness therefore changes. Different actors come into my life, the stage play changes, I move on to the next scene and the next circumstance that's being presented to me in my journey, my evolutionary path for this particular lifetime that I'm in now. One of the biggest things, though, in all of those things has been the allowing space. So allowing the circumstance to run, the emotion to run, the sense to run, allowing myself to feel that way, allowing the other person, in my mind, being allowing of them having their circumstance, their position, their way of being, and not thinking I'm right. There can only be one way. That's really challenging, because that's where you really start looking introspectively and not necessarily thinking about how they should be changing, but what is it about me that could be changing. Really, children are really good. When you have kids, that's a really allowing space to be in and learning from. And of course, all of these things, when I look back on the large bulk of my early challenges, it's been because I've wanted I needed a power and control space. I needed to control a circumstance. Another situation would be where I have had a certain conditioning because of my upbringing, my schooling, or my lifestyle. The people around me, I only know what I know, and therefore that's where I'm responding from. I have no understanding of other people's way of being. So my own conditioning getting in the way, and having to learn that there may be other ways of doing things and seeing the world. And then on a broader scale, the aspect of social norms and what's right and wrong as far as society is concerned. So what that boils down to is that the last part of that, how have I evolved, and are the strategies working, and will they work over time? Yes, they are working. They have worked. They've allowed me a lot more freedom, and of course that freedom space doesn't come without a price, and that price is often the pain of change. And I talked about this in one, maybe two of my earlier videos. That freedom does come at a price once you embark on that freedom journey, but it's a small price to pay when one looks back and sees the growth that's optional, that you can choose to invest in for oneself and for one's family. That's Batten Man Trendsetters for day 39. See you tomorrow.